Good day, everyone. It's been a while. 2 months. I can't believe it. I'm sorry for those who actually look forward to my videos, those few of you who are overjoyed when I upload something. I'm not sure that there are too many, but I'm back, at least I hope. My my desire, my reluctant desire, was to get back into playing and to do so online, to play a solo adventure of the One Ring. And I was very keen, and I spent a majority of my holiday in August looking at various sources and watching YouTube videos on the Cimmerillion and just getting the backstory once again. I watched the movies and I was extremely excited. And then Rings of Power hit the social media places. And I, I don't want to talk about the negativity or positivity uh, of the of the rhetoric that was around the publicity, the show, which I believe is still going on. I chose not to watch it. I'm going to explain why. So, all of this exposure, even before it went on, had me do a video. I didn't upload it because I kept on reflecting on it, and I kept on thinking, should I put it up? Should I not put it up? And if you're watching me, that I try to be very balanced in my approach. And the main the main argument that I was making was, if you are playing the One Ring and you're creating new stories in the world of The Hobbit, essentially, just after The Hobbit, just before The Lord of the Rings, and you're playing in Middle-earth, how critical can we be of a show that is trying to reinvent the or use what they have access to in the canon? And I was conflicted because, though I agreed with some of the arguments against the show and their decisions, in my mind, to be open, I don't care about the race issue. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the sexuality issue. That's not important to me. But silver long hair guys and gals, I mean, just little subtle things that may have just been more helpful for fans to digest. I mean, putting a beard on a dwarf, a female dwarf. Why? I don't understand why that was an editorial decision to go against what we know from the world are dwarves. The Harfoots and stuff, that's part, in many ways, that's part of the canon. It's done in a unique way, and I have not watched the show, so all I know is what I've seen in clips and stuff. And I did watch a couple of reviews of the first and second episode, and I can't make a comment. But I was so deflated by the rhetoric and by the inundation of noise around the Rings of Power and around Middle-earth that I just found myself not wanting to play. And that's so sad, I know. But I just didn't, I mean, I didn't feel that I could play online. Now I created characters, I'm very happy with them, but I haven't launched them into the world because, well, I am reluctant. There was a mental decision as to why I call myself reluctant artsy. And so I was reticent, maybe I should be reticent artsy, reticent about how to put this up online. And I struggled, and I just found myself just sad for the community of fans and for the once again social media splitting us into camps. And I think that's what I find most distressing about politics, about religion, and I'm a priest. Actually, I don't have my collar on at the moment, but I'm a priest, and I see how almost everything that's happening in this world, and let's face it, we can look back at history. This is the way we operate as human beings. We divide. We set ourselves up as important, and our values and our morals and our take on life is more important than yours, and who is with me, and then we get that crowd mentality. And I just find that to be so upsetting. We're not listening to each other. We're not giving each other leniency or grace, as I would call it in the church, to listen to one another and to agree to disagree on some issues. In the church, we call them adiaphora issues. You can look that up. I'm not going to, maybe the translator will translate it, but adiaphora issues. Those are issues that do not affect doctrine directly. They're things of minor consequence. I think the big issues that I have is certainly racism, sexism, issues of discrimination of any kind. And I've said it many times, I don't care about where you have walked in your life and the pedestal that you want to be on. I don't care about the arguments. I care about playing a game and having fun and treating you as you are, a human, and with dignity and respect that I expect, because there are things that I believe and value that you don't. And so if I want you to respect me, I need to respect you. And I think that that's true at the gaming table. And I believe that it's essential at the gaming table, and especially online. So blah, 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 that should just be a no-brainer. I think it's don't be a dick, right? I guess that's a bad thing if you're a guy, because then, it's like calling a woman a bitch. I mean, calling, it's, don't be a jerk. I think that's the better term. But then jerks might be offended by being called jerks. I don't know anymore. The world is a crazy place with definitions. So I am going to tell you what I have been doing and what I am excited about. I have been asked by the principal of the school next door, which is a middle school. It's an elementary and middle school. And I live in a rural community that you get to by ferries. And so I was asked by the principal if I would do again what I did 2 years ago before COVID and run D&D. And so there are 2 groups of 4 youth between the grades of 6 and 8. So 2 groups of 4 run on Tuesdays and Thursdays as an after-school program. And I'm not running D&D. You may know, if you've watched me all these years, you know that my nose will get itchy at some point, that I've moved away from D&D for numerous reasons, fifth in particular. They have a business model, good for them. They will always be the giants in the industry, and they have done great things for the industry. But for me, at this time in my life, I am much happier to support smaller publishers. Now, Freely Games or Freely Publishing is by no means small anymore, but their percentage of people playing is very small. And I'd like to do my part to bring it to the forefront, at least with these young people. And they are so happy. You may think that I brought them the One Ring. I did not. I looked at Forbidden Lands. I looked at the One Ring. And I looked at Vaesen. And I made the decision that I would play Vaesen with them. I didn't want to do fantasy stuff because you can always get into a murder hobo type of mentality. And you get a bunch of grade 6s and grade 8s together, and the murder hobo mindset is there. Let's rob the bank, or let's outmaneuver this monster and slice them up, or oh, it's the bad guys, we're gonna slice them up. So I wanted to play not a gentler game, but I wanted to play something that had a little more depth than just hack and slash. And I, of course, know that any good DM, GM can, or lore master, blah, 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 can run fifth in a dynamic way. Just be a good DM. But I really felt that Vaesen was going to be received well by the kids. And so I was going to give them an option. And then I said, nah, I'm not giving them an option. I'm just going to do Vaesen. So I explained this to them. We met all together with the principal to talk about what we would be doing. And it was a lunch. Actually, no, it was a school period for them, and they were supposed to have 10 minutes, and the teacher had them miss the entire class. Oh, anyway, they were really excited. We are setting it in Uppsala, and I showed them all the different characters that are the archetypes that they could be. And so they chose their own archetypes the next day at lunch with the principal, who didn't have any clue about the game. They didn't have access to the books. They didn't have access to the rules. Tell a grade 6er, 7 or 8er to go online and look up stuff. Some will, most won't. And even though I told them to look it up, they didn't. They have no clue. I just thought that the Year Zero engine, particularly here, I think that Forbidden Lands is excellent, but the Year Zero engine with Vaesen is so simple. D&D is great in terms of math, and if I wanted to play BX or something like that, or go OSR, sure. And I mean, I have all sorts of stuff. I have Stars Without Number, and I have Morkborg, but I mean, if we want to avoid the murder hobo thing, don't go to Morkborg. I have Iron Sworn that we could have led as a group, and I do have Tales from the Loop, but I didn't want them to just want to recreate Stranger Things, right? And they've mentioned that to me. So Vaesen, as some of you, most of you should know, that it's set in the 19th century, a broad 19th century. I've been telling them that it's the 1890s, but really I'm bringing some Regency elements in. Certainly industrialization is a major theme. I am running Summer in December and Dance of Dreams. So they're both going to have two different adventures that are being run uh, simultaneously in the real world, but one is going to be in the spring, summer, and the other one's going to be in the fall, and they will catch up once they go through this initial adventure. I'm having them have the same castle. They're both going to have Gillenkreuz Castle, and so that is where they're located. And I may have them share their development points. They'll both develop different rooms, but they may not know that those rooms have been developed, or they may know that those rooms have been developed. I'm hoping to get them together during a lunchtime once every month, or maybe every 2 months, to kind of have them have the council and do things like that. So I have a lot of ideas. As I was saying, my brain went ahead of me. Math is a major element of D&D, and I know that the kids can do the math and add up dice and stuff like that, and do the modifiers. But with Vaesen, it's so simple to just say, okay, you got a D6, and you hit a 6, and you're great. And I'm taking the liberty at times to show a 1 as being a negative, but only in certain circumstances because it's not part of the rule set. And so I'm really trying to get them to kind of focus more on the gameplay and the narrative than, say, the letter of the law with the rules. This is their chance to explore storytelling, to live in the 19th century where the church still has a level of power. I will be balancing that out as being both a positive and a negative. I'm certainly not going to paint the church as being the best thing under the sun. It never has been. It never will be. It is a flawed institution, but all institutions are flawed, and I would dare say that most people, all people, are flawed in some ways. And what we hope is that we rise above that flaw, that we recognize our flaws and we try to overcome them. But whether it's politics or institutionalized religion, even if it's a non-institutionalized religion, whatever that means, it still has a level of doctrine and beliefs that can alienate others. And so I want to be careful to explore that with the kids so that they recognize that there are pros and cons to everything. Just like there's pros and cons to the Industrial Revolution. Obviously, we won't be dealing with computers, but telegraph and how some people have access to telegraph and other people are poor and don't have it. So it's going to be an interesting ride for the kids. They're going to see the development of the Industrial Revolution and how Vaesen and storytelling is going to be changed. It's a folk tale, a hero quest of how the old ways and the old beliefs are challenged as scientific endeavor develops and as we rely more and more on individuals who hold power in industries. I know that there is a very good historian, I believe he's a sociologist or an anthropologist, who has looked at grain and farming techniques as kind of beginnings of the end to humanity as civilization became dependent on the haves and the have-nots. And there's a great exploration that he has on YouTube about Southeast Asia and about how those who were part of the political system stayed part of the kind of agrarian society, and those who were anti-political or apolitical ended up being continuing the hunter-gatherer life. And so it's just an interesting observation and an interesting intellectual thing. And so I want to look at that from a point of view of Vaesen and how they interact, what has caused these issues. And I think that there's a great platform. And of course, there's wonderful books. I did watch somebody who was very upset with the Irish content in Vaesen. He's online. You can look up, I think he calls it a rant against it. He had some good points, but I still think it's a great book. And this is Mythic Britain and Ireland. I do have 2 cores, but I left them upstairs. And I did purchase from Grimfrost. I purchased this from Grimfrost. I'm just going to get back to here. So this is Vaesen by Johan Egerkrans, and this is an absolutely fantastic book. This is the English. This is the English book. My gosh, when people said that it was absolutely beautiful, and you know, if you have Vaesen, the book, the core book, you know what a beautiful print. I mean, you're proud to own it. Like, screw PDFs. I mean, this is awesome. And I also bought The Undead, which, if you haven't looked it up or haven't heard of, this is absolutely amazing. This is just as brilliant as the other. And I'm extremely happy. It goes through the different regions of the world and talks about the different, the different undead. And so I'm just overjoyed. I watched a while ago Thomas Bolton. And Thomas Bolton works very closely with the author of Summer in December. I see them often doing things together. Matthew Taylor Jones. I believe that he's a doctor, actually. Anyway, Matthew, and I think his friend is Dave, but Matthew and Dave have a channel that escapes me at the moment, but somebody will scream in the comments of what it is. But they're absolutely wonderful in supporting Free League games, and I really enjoy what they put up. And this Thomas Bolton, who is from Australia, I believe, wrote Mythic Japan. And Mythic Japan, Vaesen just, I really hope that they take Thomas's work and use Johan's art to do a Japanese book, because I think that this begs for a hardcover Japanese expansion. Like, it just is a perfect mix. A lot of details. And he's got great stuff. So anyway, get it on Drive-Thru Review. This is awesome. So that's Mythic Japan. So what I've done with the kids is, as I last said, because I'm ADHD and brain's all over the place. So, and some of you like these long rants. I don't know. If I were you, I'd be bored by now. Anyway, maybe you're not. Like and subscribe. So anyway, so the kids, I mean, the school is literally like 20 yards away from me. So they did this lunchtime thing, and they chose all their characters. So I have a Tuesday group and a Thursday group. So the Tuesday group is, there are 2 girls and 2 boys. And one is a countess, one is a socialite, comes from the Mythic Britain and Ireland text, so I did take out some of those archetypes. So she is a socialite. I have an occultist, and those are the two ladies. And then the two gentlemen are, an academic and a vagabond. And they were awesome. Like, they chose their motivations and stuff. The Countess, because I like them to use these kind of important names so that if they don't remember that her name is Alice Villiers, they'll call her Countess, right? She's a socialite, and so her motivation is to protect the estate. She's been attacked by a ghost. That's her trauma, and her dark secret is she is an illegitimate heir. The other female of the group is an occultist, and she kind of specializes as a medium. So she's Madame Mork or Madame Valentina. Her motivation is the effects of a raven. Her trauma was being attacked by the raven, and her dark secret is her powers control her. And so, of course, we haven't played a full session. They've basically been introduced to Linnea, this group, and to Olgod. And so this is awesome because they've really thought about their characters. Now, these are both grade 6ers, I believe. And the two gentlemen, one is an academic and the other one is a vagabond. The academic is a professor, and the vagabond, of course, is a vagabond. And the academic his motivation is charting the unknown, aged by a mermaid, and addicted to Vaesen's touch. So the dark secret is he's addicted. Now, I couldn't make it drugs because they're in grade 6, right? So I thought about it, and I thought, addicted to the touch of the Vaesen. So whenever he sees a Vaesen, he wants to touch it as if it's an unnatural draw. And so, of course, he'll have to roll to kind of prevent him from that motivation to go toward it, regardless of the danger. And this vagabond, I'm still kind of working through this because I'm not sure if the young lad is happy with his character or understands. So he wants to be liked, which is in the character description as a vagabond, and his trauma is he saw a revenant rise, and his dark secret is a Vaesen killed everyone he loves. I love that. Like, so anyway, what I did is I had them down. This was last week, and I said to them, okay, what do you want to do? Like, how are you interacting and stuff like this? So it was fun to see how they looked at each other and they looked at their interactions. So the Countess sees the madam as being useful. She helped her with a physical ailment. She looks at the professor as smart, and they met at a dance of the elite in the community of Uppsala. The Countess met the vagabond, and her opinion of him is he needs help, and she caught him stealing. And it was interesting. The young lad said to me, "Oh, I don't want to be a stealer. I don't want to be a thief." And I thought that was very honorable, and I would have thought that he would have wanted to be that type of sneaky vagabond in an obtaining type of way, because he did raise up his currency, as it were, from 1 to 2. And so I just thought that but so good for him. And then, the medium is jealous of the Countess sees the professor as knowledgeable. He sought her out. The professor sought, so very intellectual. The professor sought the occultist out because of the incident with the mermaid, but didn't mention the mermaid. Wanted the medium to do a reading. Well, she rolled three sixes. And so I, I brought her out of the class and said, okay, this is what you know. And I told her about the mermaid and what he described to me as the trauma and the dark secret. And then I said, I want you to role play it. Well, I don't think that they're at that level as yet. She just basically repeated me verbatim. But it was a good test for her to kind of look in the guy's eyes. I mean, they've grown up together. Everybody here in this community has known each other since kindergarten and before. So it was kind of an icebreaker for everybody to see how to do things. And of course, I need to be very sensitive to what's comfortable. This young gentleman was looking at the map of Uppsala on the table and was like right over this young woman. And I could see by her face, she didn't say anything, but I could see that she was uncomfortable having him literally hanging over her looking at the map. So I said, personal distance, young man. So anyway, so I think I might change the seating arrangements a little bit. But just, as a GM with younger people, especially those in grade 6, this group is more grade 6 than my other group. And I'm not going to talk about my other group. They're the grade 8 groups. But I will say that there's a doctor, doctor, an officer, an athlete who's a soccer player if you're a North American footballer, and an aged footballer who played for the Spurs in London. I said, where do you want it? Where did you grow up? Where did you play? And he said, in England. And I said, okay, in a city? Yeah. I said, Manchester, Birmingham, London. So we chose London. And so because I watch the Premiership all the time, and because I used to be a Spurs fan, he described, like I said, north, east, south, west. Where? So he said north. So I said, choose a color. What's your favorite color, blue or red? So he chose blue. So that's the Spurs. He could have been the Gunners, but anyway. And then there's a hunter. So that's that group. And they're older. Two of those young people played with me 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I forget what. COVID. When the hell was it? So 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, they played with me. And so, yeah. Anyway, abruptly stopped playing 5th edition anyway. So now they're back and they're really, really happy as well. And they've come up with awesome stories, but I don't want to get into that too much. What I've done, and I may take a screenshot and throw this up so that you can see kind of how I've done this, is I've divided it up so that I have the title, name, archetype, motivation, trauma, dark secret, and then the effects of the above. And that's kind of a DM note so that, and I always have my iPad with me at the school. So I'm going to look at it like I need to know, okay, how do your powers control you, occultist? How does this raven affect you? And so that will be a discussion, and it's character development, right? And then what I've got is PPLE, which is physical, precision, logic, and empathy. And so I've got those numbers all across, and I have the two groups so that I can look at their numbers. And then, of course, I have their 3 physical skills, and I've got the 12 skills listed, and I've got the numbers of what they have so that if they don't know, looking on their sheets, I can say, okay, well, you have a 3 in empathy and you have a 1 in observation, so you roll 4 dice, but you're using this whatever advantage, you roll an extra 2 dice. So getting the kids to kind of understand adding dice, that it's a dice pool. And you know, D&D is great. You roll a 20-sider. It's awesome to feel that 20-sider. It's great to have advantage. It's horrible to have disadvantage. A 20-sider is a wonderful thing to roll. Better get a kid with 8 6-sided dice and have them roll 8 dice, and Yahtzee, you know, they love it. They just love that kind of big rolls. And they all have dice trays that I give them so that the dice aren't flying all over the school's library. Then I have the pets listed underneath this the effects, which is a GM note. And I've got the names in bold for the names of the dogs. There's one in the other group for the hunter, and there's one in this group for the vagabond. And I also have marked down what bonuses the dog applies to, so vigilance and close combat in the case of the vagabond. Then I have the stats, the ability scores, and then the skills, and then I have the talents. So the socialite is wealthy, bumping her up to being well off. The occultist is a medium. The professor is a bookworm for +2 for clues with books. And the vagabond has hobo tricks. And I think I need to speak to this young lad about, does he want this? Now, the madam is kind of, or the countess has kind of saved him from this life of vagabondry. And I'm wondering if maybe he should be upgraded to a servant. I think that that's more his style, and I don't think that it would be wrong of me to mix kind of some stats between him being sneaky, as a vagabond is, and also kind of becoming a servant to the countess under her protection, as it were, and she loves to protect people. The mementos are, the countess has a unique map. The medium has a worn bone dice. I think that that's awesome. The professor has a music box, and this was awesome. I figured, we kind of negotiated about this, but the vagabond has a revenant's finger, which the occultist was interested in, and that's how they decided that they knew each other. And so I've marked it down as being luck. Now, I know that mementos are, they heal a condition if you can make it into the story. But I think in his case, what I may do is I may have him use it as either or a heal a condition or a luck dice, just a single dice to add to maybe encountering Vaesen, or just something along those lines. I have to use my imagination. I want to work with him about how that works. I have insights and defects, which are just blank at the moment. Advantages, +2. Of course, they're going to tell me before the session what their advantages are, and I will mark this down on my spreadsheet. So it's a spreadsheet. I mean, I can show it to you, but you're probably not going to see it that great. And then I have their resources and their bank. And it's not bank. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. Capital. And so I've just marked that down so that I'm aware of what they need to roll and what they're working with in terms of before they set out for their adventure. I do have their special equipment, which is kind of like a mental note for me. The Countess has a revolver. The Madam has a powder horn, a stag's horn, which is a magic item, and it really is going to help when encountering Vaesen or Vaesen. The Professor has a map book, so he gets a +1 for navigation, uh, and the Vagabond has a crowbar. So it's not necessarily like equipment, like like a like we're used to it. Like they all have it on their sheets, and I know what a revolver does, and I know what a shotgun and a bayonet do, or what a bayonet do, a rifle bayonet, but which I believe is +2. So I'm not interested in that so much as what would be their main things that they'd be using as equipment that's very unique to the character. And so the revolver for the Countess is unique in this particular situation. Then I have places for experience points and development, which I'll just mark down as we go along and spend it as we go along. And then I have 2 sections, one which talks about it's it's kind of cross-referencing with the Countess, the Madam, the Professor, and the Vagabond, and what they're how they met and what their opinions of the others are. And then underneath it, and in the other group above it, I have marked down the other people, because they will be encountering the Doctor. This group will be encountering the Doctor, the Captain, Jack Grace, who's the footballer, and James, who is the hunter character. And so I just find that Vaesen is an amazing system for kids. It's easy to pick up. I'm really excited about the possibilities and about the depth, also the history that can be explored with European 19th century industrialization, also festivals that used to be part of community life. I mean, here in the community that I'm part of, I'm in Canada, it's a loyalist community, and we have a loyalist graveyard. And the reason why this community was founded was because, and sorry, my US friends, but they were persecuted in Connecticut, and because of their allegiance to the monarch, and or not taking sides in the revolution, in 1785, they came and established this community, and built a rectory and built a church, and it's been going on, and we used to have, long before my time, community festivals where people would dress up for Loyalist Day and would dress up as 19th century or even 18th century characters, most of which were really Regency. But, it's a festival that has died out. And I know that in England there continues to be, and many European communities that have a much longer history have more traditional festivals that happen apart from the Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, May Day and stuff like that. So it will help kind of contextualize the importance of community and what it meant and how it's changing when people leave from the rural communities into the suburbs or the cities themselves, and what happens in terms of quality of life and stuff. So again, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't speak highly enough of Free League Publishing, and and of the possibilities. I'm very shocked at looking at playthroughs and how few people watch playthroughs of Free League, people doing things. It should have much stronger viewership. I know that Garblag Games does do Free League stuff, and I think they get very good numbers, or at least appropriate numbers. But I think that we as a community should be supporting more the independent, different kind of publishing houses that are continuing with the pen and paper option as being a prime option. And so I'm very happy. What's great about this with the kids is there's no cell phones at the table. There's no iPads other than my spreadsheet. And so it really is a pen and paper game. And so they're playing old school without realizing that it's old school and without playing D&D old school. They're playing this very pure type of game where, you know, looking at maps on the computer screen and figuring out, how do I move my pawn over? How do I move my icon over? Where do I find my character's stats? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. You know, that type of interference takes away from the game, at least when I'm watching online. I don't want the medium to be the message, as Marshall McLuhan would say, God rest his soul. I want the game to be the story, to be the message, to be the encounter, and I don't want anything to distract from the immersion. And so I'm really happy to be doing this. I'm very privileged to be able to do this. And this is kind of my update for you. So that's what I've been up to for the past 2 months. That's the reason why I didn't put anything up and follow through. I know I'm reluctant. I promised you that I would, and then I didn't. So, you know, promises, promises. Great song, 1980s. And so... yeah, it is a great song. Actually, I think I could go play it on my computer. So look, have a great day. I'm happy that you've watched. I'm sorry that I've been absent. I will be a little more. I will be around a little more, and if anything, to kind of tell you what's going on with the different groups. So take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you. Bye.